I mean, they weren't assholes. They were nice men.
At 80 years old, Sam Elliott, Hollywood's last true cowboy, finally lets the world see the fire he's kept buried for decades. A man known for his gravel-deep voice, for the dust in his gaze, for the kind of authenticity no studio could ever fake, has broken his silence. And what he reveals is nothing short of shocking, because behind the myth, behind the mustache and the stoic Western swagger, Sam Elliott has carried a private list, a list of 6 actors he has never forgiven. Some wounded his craft, some wounded his pride, and some quietly wounded his heart. For 60 years, he never spoke their names, but now, at 80, Sam isn't protecting anyone anymore. Not reputations, not egos, not Hollywood politics. Today, every truth comes out. The actor who made him walk off set and never return, the one whose portrayal of a cowboy he called an insult, the rising star who embarrassed the art of acting, and the friend, yes, a friend, whose change broke Sam more than any feud ever could. These aren't rumors, these aren't exaggerated headlines. These are the 6 names on Sam Elliott's private blacklist, and once you hear them, you will never see them the same way again. Sam Elliott built his entire legacy on one unshakable foundation: authenticity. He didn't just play cowboys, he lived the life, raised on ranches shaped by dust, discipline, and the harsh honesty of the Old West. Sam didn't need a camera to become a cowboy. He was one long before Hollywood ever called. That's why Kevin Costner was the first name on Sam's private blacklist. To audiences, Costner is a modern Western icon, from Wyatt Earp to the Titanic success of Yellowstone. But to Sam, Costner represented everything he believed Hollywood had twisted and cheapened about the West, where Sam carried real grit, real calluses, real scars. Costner carried clean boots, perfect lighting, polished lines, and the glossy sheen of Hollywood's idea of frontier masculinity. Sam once confided to a friend that Costner played a rancher like it's dress-up, like he's cosplaying something he's never truly felt. To Sam, the West wasn't a stage. It was a way of life, earned through a sweat, soil, and silence. And so, while millions praised Yellowstone for its vast cinematography and high-stakes drama, Sam Elliott didn't even try to hide his disdain. He saw the show as a beautifully filmed fantasy, a postcard version of a world he knew intimately, a world that couldn't be captured with $100 million budget and a perfect jawline. Insiders even revealed that Sam was offered a cameo on Yellowstone. He didn't hesitate. He rejected it outright, calling the series a soap opera with a cowboy hat. It wasn't just a creative disagreement. It was a line in the sand. Producers who saw Sam and Costner in the same room said the tension between them could freeze a desert. They never yelled, never argued publicly, but the silence was sharp enough to cut. And that coldness, the quiet war between 2 Western legends, was only the beginning. The moment Sam Elliott opened his mouth about the power of the dog, Hollywood felt the ground shift. There was no diplomacy, no softened edges, not even a hint of the quiet restraint he's known for. Sam fired his words like a bullet in a silent saloon. Sharp, loud, and impossible to take back. But this wasn't just about disliking a film. This was personal. Sam aimed his harshest criticism directly at Benedict Cumberbatch, the British actor whose performance as a tortured Western rancher earned global praise. To many, Cumberbatch delivered a haunting portrayal of masculinity in crisis. To Sam, it was an insult to everything the Western genre stands for. He mocked Cumberbatch's posture, his voice, his entire embodiment of a rancher. In a podcast appearance that went viral overnight, Sam scoffed, "What the hell does this Brit know about the American West?" With that single sentence, Sam did what few actors in modern Hollywood would ever dare. He challenged the authenticity of a critically acclaimed performance by a global superstar. The backlash was instant. Fans of the film, critics, and even younger Hollywood actors accused Sam of being a relic, old-fashioned, unwilling to evolve. They said he was gatekeeping the Western genre. They said he didn't understand modern storytelling. They said he was stuck in the past. But Sam didn't flinch. He didn't apologize. He didn't clarify. He didn't soften. He stood firm like a gunslinger who had already taken his 10 paces and refused to step back. Because to him, the power of the dog didn't just miss the spirit of the West, it betrayed it. It reinvented masculinity in ways Sam saw as misguided. It twisted the Western code he has spent decades honoring. It turned quiet strength into fragile uncertainty. And while Cumberbatch chose silence, as dignified and restrained as ever, the damage was done. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that the British actor was deeply stung. Executives even debated whether they should issue a public counterstatement. But Cumberbatch said nothing, and Sam said everything. This wasn't petty criticism. This was Sam defending the soul of the Western genre, his genre. The genre he believes Hollywood is slowly riding out of existence. And if Benedict Cumberbatch felt the sting, Sam saw it as the price of protecting a legacy. To Sam Elliott, acting has always been sacred, not glamorous, not trendy, not a playground for influencers or entrepreneurs. It is a discipline, an art form built on truth, patience, and the kind of emotional honesty you cannot fake. So when Hollywood crowned Ashton Kutcher as its new golden boy, rising from that 70s show, leaping into rom-com fame, and then transforming into a Silicon Valley mogul, Sam wasn't impressed. He was irritated. To Sam, Kutcher represented a new wave of Hollywood. Style over substance, algorithms over authenticity, fame over craft. Still, when they were cast together in Netflix's The Ranch, Sam didn't protest. He was too old school, too professional, too committed to the job. He showed up. He learned his lines. He delivered the work. But behind the curtain, the fractures appeared almost immediately. Crew members whispered that the tension was unmistakable, even when the two men didn't speak. Sam, normally calm and composed, would retreat to quiet corners and shake his head after certain scenes. One crew member remembered him muttering, "He's a decent guy, but no real actor." Sam didn't hate Ashton. That wasn't it. It was Ashton's approach to the craft that cut deep. Where Sam demanded stillness, Ashton brought fast-talking charm. Where Sam believed in emotional truth, Ashton leaned into memes, brand deals, social media polish. Where Sam saw acting as a calling, Ashton treated it like a flexible career path, one of many. To Sam, this wasn't evolution, it was erosion, a slow undoing of what the art of storytelling used to mean. And while fans saw chemistry between them on the screen, Sam knew the truth. It was acting, only acting, nothing more. Ashton, ever the diplomat, praised Sam in interviews, calling him a mentor, a legend, a master of the craft. But Sam's private words were colder, sharper, tinged with disappointment. He's acting like a guy who learned acting on YouTube. Sam wasn't trying to be cruel. He was guarding something precious to him, a dying code of honesty and tradition he feared Hollywood was abandoning. And if the ranch worked for audiences, Sam knew it worked for reasons far different than camaraderie. Behind the scenes, there was no brotherhood, no bond, only tolerance. And the next name on Sam's blacklist would strike even deeper, because he wasn't just annoyed. He was offended by what came next. If Sam Elliott's artistry could be distilled into one belief, it would be this: the strongest performances don't shout, they whisper. Sam worships subtlety, the quiet flicker of a gaze, the heavy silence before a line, the emotional truth found not in noise but in restraint. To him, acting is not a spectacle. It is a stillness, it is honesty, it is control, which is exactly why Nicolas Cage became one of the most polarizing figures in Sam's eyes. To millions, Cage is a legend, a cult icon defined by unpredictable energy, wild choices, and performances that swing from genius to madness in seconds. But to Sam, it was chaos masquerading as craft. Cage's flailing limbs, bug-eyed expressions, sudden outbursts, and whiplash moods weren't brilliance to Sam. They were distractions, loud, fiery explosions that left no room for authenticity. When the two worked together on Ghost Rider, Sam remained professional, always polite, always respectful, but warm? Not even close. Sam kept his distance, observing Cage the way an old cowboy might watch a tornado, with caution, with disbelief, and with a deep sense that this was something unnatural to his world. Later, in interviews where he refused to name names, Sam spoke of actors who hijacked scenes with ego, turning every moment into their personal stage play. Those who knew him intimately understood exactly who he meant. One friend recalled a Sam describing Cage with a line so cold it could freeze fire. He's more firework than flame, big bang, no heat. To Sam, Cage represented everything he feared modern cinema was becoming: shock over soul, noise over nuance, performance over purpose. He saw Hollywood rewarding chaos, mistaking frenzy for depth. And even when Cage earned awards and critics praised his brilliant, unhinged energy, Sam remained unmoved, because no trophy could ever validate what Sam saw as hollow theatrics. In Sam Elliott's world, acting is a quiet communion with truth. In Nicolas Cage's world, acting is an explosion. And those two worlds were never meant to share the same sky. But nothing would cut Sam deeper than the next name, because the next man wasn't an annoyance or a disappointment. He was a friend Sam thought he would ride with forever, until Hollywood changed him. Of all the names on Sam Elliott's blacklist, none cut as deeply as Jeff Bridges, because this one wasn't about ego, it wasn't about acting styles, it wasn't about Hollywood politics. This one was about heartbreak. Sam and Jeff were once carved from the same slab of Western stone, gritty, grounded, effortlessly magnetic. They didn't need theatrics, they didn't need flashy dialogue. Their power came from silence, from presence, from that rare masculine stillness Hollywood can't manufacture. Fans loved them together in The Big Lebowski, a film that later became a cultural monument. On screen, they were electric. Off screen, they were brothers. They shared long talks, jokes, quiet moments of mutual respect, the kind of bond that forms only between men who truly understand each other. But something changed. Not overnight, not in a fight, not in some dramatic betrayal. It changed slowly, like a rope fraying thread by thread, until one day it simply cannot hold. After Jeff won his Oscar for Crazy Heart, insiders say Sam noticed a shift. The man who once carried humility like a second skin began showing up in high-end fashion magazines. He walked red carpets with political slogans on his chest. He appeared in the sleek, curated press tours that felt different, less grounded, less raw, less Jeff. One source close to Sam said he became harder to reach, less real. To Sam, it felt like the authenticity, the shared simplicity that once bound them, was being replaced by Hollywood polish, by image, by branding, by something Sam had never trusted. In a rare interview, when asked about old collaborators, Sam released a cryptic line that many believed was aimed directly at Bridges. Some folks change, others just show who they always were. Jeff never responded. He didn't need to. The silence said everything. They stopped attending the same festivals, stopped supporting each other's projects, stopped being brothers of the screen. To Sam, it wasn't betrayal, it was abandonment, a drifting apart, so slow, so quiet, so unspoken, that by the time he realized the friendship was gone, there was nothing left to save. But Jeff Bridges wasn't the last name on Sam's list. One more remained, and it belonged to a man Sam Elliott believed symbolized the very downfall of true acting. If there is one thing Sam Elliott cannot tolerate, it is pretension. The kind of self-important theatrics that turn acting from a craft into a circus. Confidence, fine. Commitment, essential. But ego disguised as method acting? To Sam, that is poison, which is why Jared Leto became the final and perhaps most infuriating name on Sam's blacklist. Hollywood praises Leto for his extreme dedication, sending rats to castmates, refusing to break character for weeks, turning film sets into psychological obstacle courses. To some, it's genius. To others, it's commitment on the edge of madness. To Sam, it was nonsense. Sam once described Leto's style as theatrics masquerading as talent, and he didn't mean it metaphorically. Privately, he was even harsher. A close friend remembered Sam saying, if he needs that much effort just to act, maybe he's in the wrong profession. Because to Sam Elliott, true acting doesn't require headlines. It doesn't require horror stories from the set. It doesn't require your coworkers being terrified of opening a gift box. Great acting, in Sam's world, is quiet. It is disciplined. It is invisible. You disappear into the role. You don't force the world to watch you disappear. Though Sam and Jared Leto never shared a set, insiders revealed a stunning moment that defined the depth of Sam's disdain. Sam was once attached early to a film project. He liked the script. He respected the director. He was ready to sign on. Then he learned Jared Leto had been cast. Sam didn't negotiate. He didn't express concern. He didn't even make a phone call. He simply walked, silently, firmly, and permanently. No announcement, no explanation. Just a quiet refusal to tie his life's work to what he saw as Hollywood's most theatrical gimmick. Because for Sam Elliott, acting is not a carnival. It is not a stunt. It is not about shocking people into paying attention. Acting is truth, humanity, restraint. And in Leto, Sam saw the exact opposite. A future where acting becomes a spectacle, not art. That was the final name. 6 actors, 6 wounds, 6 reminders of how deeply Sam Elliott cares about the soul of his craft. But before closing his story, there is one final truth, a truth about Sam himself, as he stands at 80, no longer chasing roles, but chasing honesty. 80 years old, 6 decades in Hollywood, and finally, 6 names spoken aloud. For most actors, holding grudges is a weakness. For Sam Elliott, it's a compass, a reminder of the values he refuses to abandon. Because Sam is not chasing roles anymore. He's not fighting for relevance, fame, or clout. He's fighting for something far more fragile, the truth. To him, acting has never been about a spotlight or spectacle. It has never been about headlines, method stunts, viral clips, or political posturing. It's about the quiet dignity of telling a real story. It's about honoring a tradition older than cinema itself. It's about carrying forward a code, the code of the West, a code built on restraint, on discipline, on authenticity, on a silence that weighs more than a monologue. These 6 actors, each in their own way, represented something Sam believes threatens that code. Kevin Costner for glamorized cowboys, Benedict Cumberbatch for portraying a West he didn't understand, Ashton Kutcher for turning the craft into a brand, Nicolas Cage for replacing nuance with chaos, Jeff Bridges for letting Hollywood polish wash away old humility, Jared Leto for turning acting into a circus of gimmicks and shock value. Sam is not perfect, he never claimed to be. But in a town full of noise, he remains one of the last men built from quiet truth. He knows he stands alone sometimes, and he's fine with that. Because Sam Elliott would rather be the last real cowboy, the last protector of a vanishing code, than a man who bends for applause. And now, for the first time, the world sees the fire behind the mustache, behind the slow drawl, behind those weathered eyes. A fire that has been burning for years, a fire that finally speaks, a fire that tells Hollywood not everyone deserves the pedestal, and not every performance deserves the West.